Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey everybody, it is Friday, your favorite day of the week, and that's because you're listening to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host, a man who is ready for some football. Gotta say, it's been so long. Go LA Rams. With me is Paul B., the Garth to my Wayne.
How's it going?
The Tonto to my Lone Ranger. There you go. What's up, man? How's it going?
Pretty good. Why am I Tonto? Maybe you're Tonto. Maybe I'm the Lone Ranger.
You could be whoever has the mask. Who has the mask? Wait, that might reveal more about you than you may be comfortable sharing. To be honest, who knows a Lone Ranger out there? I lost half the audience when I just hit that reference. People are like, the what Ranger? Was that Johnny Depp? No.
Johnny Depp. He's got to be older than that.
Wasn't he? Johnny Depp was Tonto in that really bad movie, The Lone Ranger.
I don't even. That one passed me by. I don't even know.
I'm surprised
what
you guys didn't cover that one on Rec Reviews,
Maybe
man.
We should.
You have to watch the movie drunk because that movie is awful. God awful.
I gotta find it.
God awful movie. Yeah, that's a good one. You should definitely, if you're looking for a good movie to watch when you're drunk, and because the movie's just terrible, that would be a good one. Very nice. How are things in Intertalk? You guys are hot down there? It's warm?
Well, it's cool. It's cool in here, but it's been hot. It's been uncomfortably hot around here, but not as bad as last summer was really bad.
It's hard to get into the fall thing, isn't it? When it's like 100 degrees. It's like 103 degrees here today, and I'm like, everybody's like, "Oh, it's fall, and it's like, it's what?
I don't even feel like having a pumpkin spice latte. Getting into my Uggs, and
I'm not a pumpkin spice guy.
I didn't think you were.
Nah,
it's very surprising.
It's very surprising. Yeah, I know that's not going to be me. But who am I? What do I do? How do you reach me? That sort of thing. I run a branding and public relations firm called Robertson Communications here in lovely and very warm Orange County, California. I help companies kind of clarify their message, bring it to market in a more powerful way, bring in the press and influencers to build credibility and just do things that are on the right side of the marketing line. There's a lot of scumbags in marketing. There's a lot of scumbags in marketing. There's a lot of scumbag tactics in the profession of marketing. And you're listening to a show that stands firmly against all of that stuff. I don't like marketing automation. I don't like, a lot of things that people say, well, this is the future. I'm like, it's a future if you're an idiot, if you don't care about your brand, if you don't care about the government suing you into the Stone Age, then yeah, it is a future. It could be your future. It's not going to be my client's future. I'll tell you that. So anyway, but there's my little dissertation on that. It's funny because we're going to talk. This is episode 134 of the program. We're going to talk about reputation in a world of fakes. Brand reputations are hard fought, hard won over time, and really the most valuable asset that any business can possess. The brand, as I always tell my clients, is a sum total of everything you're doing. Then really everything is on the line when your reputation is threatened and when your reputation, is up for grabs there. So, and with more and more photos and videos being convincingly faked via new technology, I think it's an interesting point as to how companies will find a way to maintain brand reputation when you sort of can't trust anything. So we're going to talk about deep fakes, and we're going to talk about big mistakes, and we're going to still have time to hit who's winning and losing. This episode, even though it's not finished yet, has already been awarded a CMA Award on the next weekly broadcast on CBS of the CMA Awards or CMA whatever. It seems like they kind of give those awards out weekly, so we're up for one. I'm excited about that. But you're tuned into a good episode for May the Best Brand Win, and we're going to have a good time. So what kind of got me thinking about this was marketing guru, and everybody should be reading what he has to say, is Seth Godin. And what he said this week really kind of stuck with me. I thought about it quite a lot. He said, AI can now easily, in 8 seconds, change the identity of someone in a film or video. There's a new app called Zao that can do that. Multiple services can now scan a few hours of someone's voice and fake any sentence in that person's voice, right? And you've seen, like, Batman do that before. You've seen James Bond do that before, but you've never seen, like, real people being able to do that. But the tech exists to be able to fake people's voices now. What he says that open publishing on platforms like Kindle means there's no gatekeeper to verify the source what you read. There could be a fake Kindle book by various authors that just kind of sound like authors that we know. He goes on to say, don't buy anything from anybody who calls you on the phone. Be very careful with your prescriptions. Don't believe a video or a photo, especially if it's a review. Luxury goods, maybe not, probably aren't. He says that fish might not even be what it says it is. He says, but we need reputation. The people who are sowing the seeds of distrust almost certainly don't have your best interests in mind. We've all been hacked, which means that a reshuffling is imminent, one that restores confidence so we can be sure what we're seeing, what we think is what we think we're seeing. But that's not going to happen tomorrow, so now more than ever, it's like we have to assume we're being conned, which is what he says is sad but true. Really good post. He's a really great writer. I totally advise everybody listening to this show to make sure that you are subscribed to what Seth Godin has to say. He is just a visionary in terms of how he looks at marketing, and I couldn't have more respect for the guy, and I couldn't have more. I think he gets it right. So often it's crazy. So anyway, make sure you're checking him out as well. In addition to this show, so. We live in a fake world. We know that. We know that, half of web traffic reported is faked with bots and spiders designed to sort of artificially inflate the audience. And then as marketing, we have to kind of make sense of that whole thing. But what happens when, we grow up believing that you can, believe what you see with your own eyes. If you saw it with your own eyes, then yeah, it's much more likely to be believed by you. What if things that what if things aren't exactly what we thought they were? How does marketing respond to that? This coming wave of being able to, to fake people's voices, and they call this whole thing deep fakes, by the way. Actually, it's kind of an interesting subject. Actually, just this week, Facebook and Microsoft have launched a contest to detect deep fake videos. According to Reuters, Facebook is teaming up with Microsoft and the Partnership on AI Coalition. Yeah, that's not any good right there either. And academics from several universities to launch a contest to better detect deep fakes, said the Post on Thursday. The social giant's putting $10 million into the Deep Fake Detection Challenge, which aims to spur detection research. As part of the project, Facebook's commissioning researchers to produce they have to produce some realistic deepfakes, right, to create a data set for the testing detection tools. The company said the videos, which are going to be released in December, will feature paid actors and no user data will be utilized. I love that Facebook has to say that now, by the way. They're like, it's not going to be your data, we promise. We seriously promise. It's going to be professional actors this time, we promise. It'll be their data, their fake data. So deepfakes is kind of interesting, right? It's not something that comes up on everybody's radar, right now all the time, but it could. It very easily could. What if someone grabbed, for a public company? What if somebody, faked a voice of a CEO and called the accountant and said, this is a CEO. I want you to transfer, $50 million to this account, that kind of thing. And the accountant would be like, yeah, okay, I got I got voice authorization, from the CEO, that kind of thing. If you could fake the voice, there's huge potential for crime in this. There's huge potential for coming back to the marketing circle. There's huge potential for, for the brand to be in jeopardy when this sort of thing happens. So it's an interesting subject, right? And of course, Facebook and Microsoft are looking for a way that they can detect deepfakes so that they can, when people are posting them on, channels to try to amplify things, they can say this, click, this is 80% likely to be a deep fake. This is 80% likely to be a fake, this kind of thing. boy, I wonder. But it certainly seems like some interesting times are coming our way with this kind of new technology coming in. Seems kind of interesting. So here's something to consider on this. You know, when trust is lost, people tend to retreat, right? Our mindset goes back to kind of our primitive minds where we kind of retreat back. If we can't trust, let's say you got a pack of cave people, right? And you used to hunt in this little path, this little area that's right in front of your cave. If all of a sudden you can't trust that little area anymore because there's like velociraptors running around on there, and that may not be historically accurate, but let's just say it is. You know, let's say there's, dangerous saber-toothed tiger, velociraptor, that kind of thing. Email me later, by the way, at scott@robertsoncom.com if you want to correct my history. All of my prehistoric knowledge comes from the Ice Age movies, and so there you go. So I'm going to say that mankind and these animals were around the same time. Let's say you were. And let's say you couldn't trust that anymore. You would retreat back into the safety of your cave, right? Because your mind is, trying to kind of survive first, right? Survival instinct. And so that's kind of happening. But, when trust is lost, people retreat back to things that are familiar to them and things that they know. And you can see that. The actual wave of social media that was formed, a lot of people believe that at the in the early part of the 2000s, social media sort of came to power because people were losing trust in sort of the at very high rates in sort of the pillars of society, right? Government, organized religion, business, those kind of pillar level things, experienced massive drops in trust in all of them through scandals and, you know why. So, and then people sort of retreat back to, let's just retreat back to people we know, right? And I know these people on Facebook, and so what they say, I can kind of trust that. And actually, there's a book on that called The Groundswell, and the whole thing's called The Groundswell Effect, this sort of retreating back into trusted networks that we know, which is interesting. And you can see it, right? It doesn't make any sense at all, by the way. I belong to a group, I live in South Orange County in an area called Coto de Caza, California. And I belong to a group on Facebook called Coto de Caza and Dove Canyon Residents. And inside this group, people give each other recommendations on here's the best handyman. Here's the best person to come in and paint your house. Here's the best babysitter. Here's the best dog sitter. Here's the best whatever. And it's based on nothing more than the fact that you belong to a group and you live in the same geographic proximity as these people, which is, when you think about it, that is nothing. I mean, you do not know them. Just because they live in the same part of Orange County with you doesn't mean that they're any more or less trustworthy. I mean, they could be the clown from It, hanging out in the house next door to you. I mean, you could have you could be getting handyman recommendations from the clown from It. Think about it. You don't know those people, yet the perception is that these people are trustworthy. And what happens if the recommendation goes bad? Oh, I think you should go to this dentist. Well, that dentist hurt me and didn't, honor my insurance and charged me a bunch of money, and I'm in court with them and that kind of thing. It's like you have no recourse on these people because you don't know them. You don't know them. You're as anonymous gets, baby. And other than the fact that maybe I saw you once at an event. I mean, Coto de Caza is huge. It's 27 separate communities, in here. 27 separate, big communities together. It's big. So that's how crazy people are. That's how nuts we are, is that we will accept the recommendation on somebody based on geography, which makes no friggin' sense at all, right? We choose to trust things. We give it away. I was on a speaking panel once, and somebody wanted to challenge me on that, and they said, no, trust is earned. Trust is always earned. It's always earned by people. Bullshit. Trust is always given. It is a choice. It is a perception-driven choice made by you to give it away. There are no rules other than the made-up, magically delicious rules that you just made up in your head for when you're going to hand away trust. Don't ever, when people say stupid things like that, to me, it's like they don't understand how the human mind works, right? There's not we don't come from the factory, right? With like this series of hardware and software that go, and when they do this, then we will trust them. And when they have completed 5 successful tasks, then they will have earned the trust, according to the Bible of humanity. Bullshit. We give away trust based on artificial rules that we create in the world that we have created for ourselves, and the twisted perception of reality that we kind of call the truth is the truth for us and us alone. Okay, as a marketer, you got to know that, right? You can't say things like trust is earned and stupid things like that. It proves that you don't understand human psychology at all. So it's really, really important that we know that, because when we're talking about the root cause of this is trust is a perception. Trust is a perception, right? Perception can be influenced. Trust is a perception. Perception can be influenced. That is what we do, right? That's what I always say, at least. So I think that kind of gives us hope that there's not just one truth out there. There's not just one there's not just one reality that everybody sees. Now, there are a few ways I was thinking of that marketing could really help restore confidence. I think one of the ways is, in this kind of trust-free world, is that we need to pick our shots better. We need to not send out so much stuff all the time. We need to, maybe you'll see some kind of 2-factor or 3-factor authentication of content kind of thing happen. Like if you see, if something is verified by like 3 of the channels that a brand runs, then you can be like, okay, well then they put this out. I mean, you might get there. You might be like Kraft macaroni and cheese. It's like if one channel says that the CEO said this or whatever, then the other 2 might have to come out and said, yeah, that was us. That was us saying that. Yeah, there's like 2 or 3-factor authentication coming up, kind of multi-channels and that kind of thing. And the other thing I think is, if technology kind of broke it, right? If this Zao app and those kind of things are making the artificial, the kind of faking of reality possible, then maybe tech can fix it, right? I mean, that's always one hope that I have, is that if tech creates the problem, maybe tech can create the solution. So maybe by trying to stay a step ahead of it in terms of like algorithmically and things like that, there can be ways that technology can play a role as well. And you are hanging out with me, Scott, on May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing this week. See you in a few.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody. It is Friday. You are so smart because you are tuned in to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, your host, hanging out with Paul. We're talking about deepfakes, talking about all the worlds of deepfakes. What's your favorite deepfake, Paul? The Zuckerberg one you said you liked.
Yeah, well, actually, the Zuckerberg one was freaky, and actually, the scenario you were describing potentially just happened like a few days ago. Someone defrauded like $240,000 from a company by creating a deepfake of the CEO.
Deepfake of the CEO. Gosh.
Yeah. So it was a deepfake of the CEO of like the parent company in Europe or something, and they made this urgent request for the CEO of the subsidiary, like we need an urgent transfer, and he fell for it and transferred like $240,000 to Hungary, and then they called back and tried to do it again, and at that point he got a little suspicious. but they got away with it. The company's insurance reimbursed them, but it worked. It's crazy. It's already happening.
It's crazy. The speech thing is really crazy. How they can match people's vocal patterns and speech, and that
there could be a deep fake of you being developed right now that's going to be telling people about the joys of robocalling, retargeting.
Hey, this is Scott from the May the Best Brand Win. Here's my top 5 tips. Robocall. Seriously, why aren't you doing this?
You're so smart because you're robocalling every day. You're getting that paper, son.
All the things I hate. That would be terrible. I wake up screaming, "It's too deep faking me! Why? Why? Oh, that's good. Well, let's talk about, speaking of, let's talk about who's winning and losing this week. So, Facebook says that it's experimenting with possibly removing its like counts. So it could be starting to hide the like counter on the news feed to protect users from envy and dissuade them from self-censorship. Instagram's already been testing this in 7 countries, including Canada and Brazil, showing a post audience to a few names of mutual friends who've liked it instead of the total number. The idea is to prevent users from destructively comparing themselves to others and possibly feeling inadequate if their posts don't get as many likes. Oh my God, this is the world you live in. This is the world that you live in, that we don't want people to feel inadequate if they don't get as many likes. You get a trophy, you get a trophy, you get a trophy, you get a trophy. We can't possibly reward people for being clever on this social media. It could also stop users from deleting posts they think aren't getting enough likes or not sharing in the first place. Well, as you might imagine, this topic has set social media ablaze with many, many people on both sides thinking it's wonderful or it's the worst thing in the world, those kind of things. Instagram is like already playing around with this kind of idea. But this could be interesting for the ad views, right? Because, Facebook, they say in the article, which is on TechCrunch, by the way, this week, says Facebook wants to avoid scenarios such as, look how many likes they get. My life is lame in comparison. Or why even share if it's not going to get as many likes as her post and people will think I'm unpopular? I don't know. I don't know what that has to do with advertising, by the way. I mean, it's just the whole thing is just weird. It's like, the old phrase, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. To me, that's just screaming in my head right now. I mean, the like thing, which Facebook sort of created, and then they created a 6-tier way to really specify how you liked things. Did it make you happy? Are you sad about it? Did you like it? Are you angry? That kind of thing. Are you flipping the middle finger? Those kind of things. And so they developed this very complex way to really specify what your like is. And now they're going to take that away. And so everybody's posts are going to be, generically sort of out there. And then, it's had they not created the likes in the first place, I don't think you have a problem. But now you have the expectation of the likes thing, and I think now you've created your own problem. And now I think that you are going to create a bigger problem when you take something away that people sort of expect, right? A good rule in marketing is when you take something away that people expect, they're going to be pissed off about it, right? They may not even understand why, but they're going to be pissed. And people are like, well, Facebook changes feed all the time. They could change this, that kind of thing. I don't know. You know, in this world, when Facebook shows a little bit of weakness, it could be very easy for another social network to come in and go, hey, we have likes. Look at us. We have, I mean, they could steal some market share if they were smart. Who knows? But Facebook owns the top three anyway. With WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. So probably no danger of them going out of business for it. But I'm still going to say losing because, like I said, you take something away that people expect, you're going to have a problem. You know who else is losing in the social space this week is Google. Googleness has been fined $170 million for violating children's privacy on YouTube. They agreed this week to pay a record $170 million fine and make changes to protect children's privacy on YouTube. And as regulators said the site had knowingly and illegally harvested personal information from children. No, Google would do such a thing. Really? And used it to profit by targeting them with ads. Look at that. Marketing. Way to be, kids. Nice work. Critics denounced the agreement, dismissing the fine as paltry and the required changes as inadequate for protecting children's privacy. Of course, this was the FTC. You know them. They wear suits and stuff. And the New York Attorney General's office, which accused YouTube of violating the federal Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA. Nice. I would like to be the person that has to come up with the acronym that, kind of spells out a word for something like that. That would be kind of a fun job. Hey, Scott, we've got this, and it says this, and now just give us, give us the acronym so it could spell something stupid, like that. That would be memorable. Kind of fun. So they're definitely losing because $170 million penalty is not a good thing. But also they have to make a lot of changes in how they protect the privacy of children's content. One of YouTube's ideas for protecting the children's content is to make sure that they put an age limit for using YouTube. Oh, nice. So spoken like someone who's never had a child in their life, and not a child that's grown up in the digital age and could probably, rip off the identity of every single person in the household in about 5 or 6 seconds. Kids are extraordinarily gifted when it comes to figuring out technology and digital gateways and that sort of thing. When you say dumb things like that out loud and you print them, it makes you think like, have you met a child recently? Have you been in the presence of one? Because none of that's going to work. Google's losing. Editor and Publisher magazine, which is the self-described Bible of the newspaper industry, has now been acquired by a digital media veteran, Michael Blinder, who wants to broaden the publication's mission. So he bought the magazine, which has been around, forever. It's sort of the trade magazine for, the news business and really the newspaper business. Used to be a go-to source for information about the news business, but it's kind of lost its luster in recent years. Many years of contraction and, in the print industry has really kind of destroyed the subscriber base, that kind of thing. They say they have a print circulation of about 10,500 and readership of 38.8, and they say they have 24,000 digital subscribers. So anyway, now Blinder, I think Blinder's winning because he says he wants to enlarge editor and publishers' focus to include TV news like CNN and digital news outlets. He says it's now a magazine for news publishers. That's kind of interesting. The trick that you have is you've had so much consolidation in the media space that the people who really count in terms of, used to be, like we talked about on the show, used to be like 53 major media companies. Now there's 6. So, you have companies and sub-companies that kind of all roll up into 6 different companies, kind of fueling the hiring and firing and that sort of thing of this magazine. So I just wonder if it's disparate enough anymore to really, be that thing anymore. But I'm going to say he's winning because I'm glad somebody bought Editor and Publisher. I'm glad it just didn't die and completely go out of business because it's been around for a long time. I think it does serve an important purpose for those folks that are still in that business. So we'll put it in winning. Walmart has agreed to stop selling short barrel rifle ammunition. They're going to continue some sales of some ammunition in their stores in response to the mass shootings in Texas last month. But did you know that Walmart is the largest U.S. arms retailer? That's a weird moniker when I read that in the story which appeared on Reuters. But that is actually the moniker. They are the largest United States arms retailer. They said they would discontinue handgun sales in Alaska, the only state where it sells these guns. And they're going to sell short barrel. They'll stop selling short barrel rifle ammunition like .223 caliber and 5.56 caliber after clearing their current stock. So, interesting. Sales of handgun ammunition will also be discontinued. Now, you can't talk about this store without talking about Dick's Sporting Goods, right? Who took a huge gamble, and basically said, we're not going to sell guns of any kind anymore. We're not in that business anymore. Goodbye. We're not going to be part of this problem. When the next mass shooting happens, it's not going to be on us this time. And a lot of people criticize that. Shareholders, we talked about it on this show, I guess about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, when that sort of happened. But now they're looking pretty smart, right? Because now they have the whole industry, the whole rest of the arms industry sort of looking to follow suit, and that should be kind of interesting. Interesting to see. I think Walmart's winning for doing that. I think it's the right move at the right time, especially considering what happened in Texas and that sort of thing. And I think that Walmart is, they are the largest. They are the largest retailer that we have, and and certainly the largest arms retailer. I mean, they probably are looking at that moniker of being the largest arms retailer and saying, well, crap, this is more than likely, this could be, attributed to us, and there could be much more pressure continuing to be put on us and that sort of thing. So I think they're kind of trying to balance that, and I think this is probably a good move for them. So we're going to put it in the winning column. Why not? Dior is losing this week because they produced a fragrance called Sauvage, or they've produced it since the mid-1960s. They actually used Johnny Depp recently to promote it, but they created a new advertising campaign, marketing. Look at you people out there. And they paired it with a Native American imagery that sort of was insensitive, I guess is a good way to say it, or certainly it's been seen as insensitive. Let's see what their quote said here in this story. This was reported, by the way, in AP this week. Let's see. Harris said Dior is not going to change the name of the fragrance or cancel the commercial that was shot in southern Utah, We Are the Land, which stars Johnny Depp. See, we talked about that at the top of the show when he was Tonto, Mother Earth, all that fun stuff, right? So apparently, let's see what these the Native American Consulting Group had to say. They said it shows that a well-intentioned collaboration can inadvertently be exploitive and racist, and I think that's happened here. Said Echo Hawk, who is Pawnee. I think it's an important lesson learned. They need to pull the entire national campaign. One just needs to be very, very careful these days about what is politically correct, culturally correct, and at least racially balanced, according to Robert Pasikoff, president of the New York-based research firm Brand Keys. Yeah, I think you got to, I would fall back on this. Fragrance ads are weird. They're some of the you want to find some of the weirdest, freakiest, like maybe you just took a substance and maybe you were just poisoned or something. You want to watch some fragrance ads, because they have some wacky ideas of showing their product, and famously have done so for a good long time. So, and I have not seen this ad. I will have to see the trailer. Apparently it has a Indian dancer, and in Native American culture and that kind of thing. And apparently it's, I don't know, wrong or politically insensitive and those kind of things. I don't know if you pulled the entire national campaign, based on that. I think you probably deal with it before it reaches AP News. I mean, I would I'd recommend that. But I think Dior is definitely losing, but I think they could also easily come back and just go, hey, look, our ads are weird. They've always been weird, and this is just another in a long series of weird ads, and we're going to continue to make really weird ads that nobody understands. And if you interpret it as as politically insensitive, the chances are it could be interpreted a million different ways because it's probably just really freaky and odd. That's what I would say. That's what I would say about that. And my last story today is that, podcasts are getting attacked with negative reviews, which is kind of interesting. A story I saw this week in the Search Engine Journal says that angry fans are review bombing podcasts with 1-star reviews, and podcasters have nowhere to turn for help. There was one true crime podcast recently saw their star rating plummet, and they were profiled in The Verge, according to this story. According to the podcast was blasted with negative reviews after the host's criticism of another true crime podcast was featured in a major newspaper. Well, you get to criticize. It's fun. The story speaks to a larger issue in the podcast space, which is lack of any protection in place to combat malicious reviews. You know what we need? We need a board. There needs to be a board. They need to meet weekly. They need to look at all the reviews and all the things, and we don't need that. We don't need that. No, stop it. Stop it. Don't join a board. We don't need a board. They don't need a report. They don't need to do all this kind of stuff. It's a great wild west of podcasts out there. But apparently, according to the story, for example, if platforms such as Facebook and Yelp detect a business being unfairly targeted with negative reviews, they can temporarily suspend the ability to leave reviews. Look at that. Look at that. But apparently, it's a big problem. I don't know. I like it when you guys email me, even if it's not a positive review of the show. Even if you say, I disagree with what you said about that. I think that was wrong, that kind of thing. I always say, marketing is not a one opinion business. There can be multiple opinions, but you're going to be responsible for the consequences. So if you have a stupid opinion, you're going to get ready for the stupid consequences. They're going to be coming for you, and I try to make sure my clients don't get stuck in that fun stuff. But apparently the podcasters are looking for some kind of central review board or something to pay attention to negative reviews. I don't know. I think that's a bad idea. But a good idea is to continue to listen to this show. You were listening to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media. Come on back, and I'm going to give you some tips for maintaining a very real brand reputation in a really, really fake world.
I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording number one hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, everybody. It is a hot Friday here in Orange County, and you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. I am Scott, still your host. Segment 3, we're here digging into it, but first we're going to talk about winning and losing, recapping that with Paul. Paul, what did you like from the collection of clownage that we saw today?
Well, I'm certainly not buying Facebook is worried about your feelings excuse for getting rid of the likes. I think it has a lot more to do with like unbelievable recent events with Facebook and Google and Reddit basically tweaking search results and shutting down threads and discussions and trying to steer popular opinion towards a particular narrative, with the upcoming elections especially. I think they're really trying to kind of nip in the bud the possibility of anything like a Trump presidency ever happening again. Be it Tulsi or Andrew Yang, if they're not like, God forbid people start, throwing up millions of likes towards people that are saying something other than the powers that be want them to say. I think that's what's really, maybe it's a conspiracy theorist in me.
I see. They don't want to, so they don't want users compare and despair. No compare and despair. We don't want you to feel inadequate if your posts don't get as many likes. I mean, Paul, you're an incredibly smart guy, especially for a guitar player, I got to say. Ooh. So, Facebook couldn't care less whether you feel inadequate or anything. I mean, there's probably not even human beings working there.
It's their bread and butter. That's what they're. Yeah. That's how the whole system functions.
I love that they put this in the story, though. Oh man, they don't want users to possibly feel inadequate if your posts don't get as many likes. I mean, there's no way you can read that and your eyes aren't just rolling, going, "I'm certain that you don't give." Any sort of a crap about that.
Thank God somebody at Facebook cares about maybe Zuckerberg is becoming a real boy.
Yeah, we don't want you to feel inadequate if your posts don't get as many likes. No, you're exactly right. If you had to write that, even if it was part of your job, I don't think there's any way I could ever say that with a straight face. Yeah. There's no way I could do that in an interview and go, the idea is we don't want users to feel inadequate if they're don't get as many likes. I'm sorry,
it's already so nerfed and sissified compared to like Reddit, where you get downvoted to hell if someone doesn't like you. Like, it's already only positive reinforcement, but God forbid you don't have enough of it as much as Scott Roberts and me.
Dude, our world is getting weak. Our world is getting weak. Yeah. All of this, all this political correctness and everybody gets a trophy and this kind of thing, it's going to create a very, very weak and very conquerable society, just so you know. I mean, it's like we're not anywhere on the planet close to as tough as our ancestors were. And the first time that we have to face anything real, we're going to crumble like wet toilet paper. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Especially when when you can't get a gun in Walmart anymore. Oh, did you see this? San Francisco declared the NRA a terrorist organization this week.
I did see that. I posted on Facebook, and it got a lot of likes, by the way. Just so you know, I posted that I go, it's just San Francisco. Everybody just kind of like, oh yeah, they're just talking. They're high again. They're just talking. They're just talking, that's a little extreme, right? That's a little bold, right? To say that they're a domestic terrorist so a domestic terrorist organization, that's a heavy accusation, right? That you could imprison people for and stuff like that. So you can't say dumb shit like that and act like that's a real sentence that you can say. I mean, you can't say that. There's nothing in any sort of reality that backs that. You could say we massively disagree with what they do.
Sure.
We have a completely different position, but to call them a domestic terrorist organization is it weakens the credibility of the person who's done it. And you start to go, well, maybe they're not in a position where they can be making any more decisions, right?
Right.
It's so. I think that's what's going to happen. I think other cities, because they're urging other cities to jump on the bandwagon, or whatever, and other cities are like, well, I would, but you're high, and I'm not sure I can help you with the highness.
Yeah. Like you said, things are getting very weird.
Very weird. It's a very weird world out there. Well, cool. That's a good segue to talk about our last segment here. We're going to dig into some tips. I'd like to give you folks, the viewing and listening audience, some tips of your very own that you can try out and use and kind of, stay on the right side of the line, hopefully. So we're talking about the fake world. We're talking about the fake and the weak world, by the way, and the fake world. And I want to give you some tips for maintaining a very real brand reputation. And no matter what kind of deep fakes are happening or what kind of world, no matter what it comes to, these are some tips that can help you maintain a real brand reputation. And that probably will work, no matter what happens. Number one, be real for them. Again, I talk about this almost every week, but it really bears repeating that people's needs for buying products and affiliating with brands and putting a little ram on a hat and making sure people see that, and putting a little bolt of lightning on a hat and making sure people see that, and putting a little patriot on a hat and making sure people see that kind of thing. Their needs are very real to them. So make sure that your message begins and ends with their needs. Really, really important. No matter what's going on in the world, we're always going to be concerned with our own needs beyond the needs of anybody else. And so make sure that your message is really, digging into that, targeting that pretty hard. I see a lot of examples of companies that still just get messaging wrong, man. It's just not clear. It's not clear. And so then in the fake world, right, it's much easier for somebody to hijack your brand and say, well, they really stand for this. So they, I don't know, they can make a video of your CEO saying something, but it's like, but if your needs are about them, then you're closer than to me than if you have a message that's maybe easier to grab than something like that. But I would always advise that at the beginning of just about any marketing talk you're going to give. It's almost always going to come back to the message first, because if you don't have that piece right, it's so incredibly hard, and some would say completely impossible, to make a connection on the other side if the message is wrong, right? You're not gonna, somebody was. I was engaged in a political discussion on social media this week, which you shouldn't do, but I do it all the time anyway. And I was engaged in one, and somebody was saying they were like trying to change my mind about how I felt about an issue. And I'm like, let me save you the trouble. You're not ever going to change my mind. It's about this issue. You're just not, But by the same token, I don't have to change your mind. You don't have to change my mind. We can both have completely different opinions and still be friends, right? I have plenty of friends in marketing. They have different opinions from me. We're still friends, Like I said, it's not a one opinion type of profession. There's room for a lot of different ways to the finish line. I just try to give you, my best ways because they work, and, success is probably a good thing. So again, that first tip, to make sure you have a really good brand reputation is make sure that you have started and ended your message with their needs. 100%. Number two, there's a lot more channels out there now, right? So make sure you're monitoring all of them. And that's a big job. When I say that, that's a short sentence, but a huge job, because, there's just with social media, you almost have to have dashboards that look like, NASA or something, with every different account that monitors what's being said about your brand. And the bigger your brand is, the more you have to monitor. I'm not a huge fan of AI, but in this case, right here, monitoring all channels for mentions of your brand and things that might potentially be fake about it, AI is going to have a huge advantage over us as human beings. It can take huge data sets and it can just crack those things in like seconds, right? We may at some point wish that it couldn't. But from this point, I would say one great use of artificial intelligence is news monitoring. News monitoring, brand sentiment monitoring. A lot of you marketing folks that listen to the show probably know this, but you can monitor for tone of, and obviously it's an interpretation of tone, right? Because especially if they didn't actually speak it, and even if they did, that's also an interpretation. But you can monitor for sentiment. Good, bad, neutral kind of things of your brand. And you can map those things out and say, okay, well, we made an announcement. Let's say we're Popeyes and we put out the fried chicken sandwich. You guys heard about all the fun stuff about that. They say, well, it tested really well, let's say in the South, or it tested really well, in the Southwest, and we got a lot of positive sentiment. We're places where Chick-fil-A, has a stronger base and the Midwest and things like that. Maybe, and I'm just speculating here, but maybe it wasn't seen as positively in those places, those kind of things. Maybe competitors are saying something about your brand out there, and maybe you need to respond, maybe you don't. I always talk about all the time that McDonald's doesn't never respond. People try to bait McDonald's all the time on Twitter into saying something. Oh, here's McDonald's gets burned. McDonald's does this. And McDonald's just laughed and says, that's right. We're still number one, and you're still not even on our radar screen as a revenue source. So it's like, McDonald's just kind of laughs all the way to the bank. They just don't really care that much. If you look at their, if you've heard their CMO speak, and I mean, they're not like, they're not like a-holes about it. They're just like, they say, we just don't have time to deal with every little mention of our brand out there and that kind of thing. And I think that's a dig at some of the other companies too, basically just saying, you guys are tiny next to us. So, why would we care what you have to say? That sort of thing. But for everybody else, it's not McDonald's. Make sure you are monitoring your channels. And that way, at least you can make a decision on to whether you're going to respond to things that might be said about it that are, fake news. And that also includes Yelp, by the way. Make sure that you've got systems in place to kind of monitor the tea leaves, so to speak, including Yelp. Number 3, I think a great way to keep a real brand reputation is to stay close to your customers. Interact with your customers regularly, whether it's through social channels, events, your sales team. If it's B2B, you're talking, customer interaction is the lifeblood of a business, right? And when it starts to go away and you're not interacting with your customers in any kind of a positive way, the business starts to be in trouble, pretty quickly. So I would definitely say that interacting with your customers, really, 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 really important in terms of maintaining a real brand reputation. And also you can start to kind of monitor if you hear a lot of your customers saying, well, we didn't, like Disney, for example, they raise their prices all the time at the theme parks. I'll bet you anything their customers are saying, yeah, we like Disney, but, they're raising the prices, and now we're starting to look at Knott's Berry Farm, and now we're starting to look at other things. And if Disney was smart, and Disney's pretty smart, folks, they would probably, they're probably going, well, maybe not do any more of those price increases for a while, or maybe we figure out a way to talk about the value that we're doing, or, there's a million different reactions you can have, but if you're not having the interaction with your customers regularly, it's hard to know what to do. You don't have the feedback. Tip number 4, be honest and truthful at all times. And I know you're saying, well, Scott, you're a PR guy. You say that. As I always say, and I've done episodes on this, honest and truthful wins every time. Even if the truth is hard, even if the being honest is more difficult, you will always get busted in this world for lying. It will always come out. You will always get busted. You could do it temporarily. It's still coming out. Sometime it's going to be coming out. Somebody's going to be dealing with it. And then the reason you want to be honest and truthful, aside from just, your moral reasons why you want to do that, during times of crisis, let's say somebody says something fake about your brand, it's less likely that stuff will be believed if you've been honest and truthful up until that point. So then we kind of get to a little bit of that. Yeah, trust is, sometimes earned, even though it is given. And we discussed that and that kind of thing. But people will give you a greater benefit of the doubt during times of crisis if you've been honest and truthful at other times. Like the NFL, for example, they're almost never honest and truthful with their fans. Everything is spun. Everything is BS. Everything is crap. That's why the commissioner gets booed all the time. That's why everybody hates the league. They love the game, but they hate the league, that kind of thing. But that's because there's a long history of lying and doing a lot of bad stuff, right? And during times of crisis, you're like, yeah, they're scumbags over there. I can totally see it. I can't wait for the game on Sunday, but I can see how those people in New York are a bunch of scumbags, and they've earned it. They've earned that reputation. So, yeah, absolutely. And the last tip I have is kind of be we, not me with the brand. Make it about, us. Sometimes, I think some of the best brands like Apple and even Disney and those kind of things, they bring you into the brand, right? If we make a mistake, we're going to fix it together. If Apple's battery life is gone, well, we're going to fix it. We figure this out and we're going to fix it together. You come to the Apple store and we're going to work on it, kind of together. They're really good at that. If you notice the subtlety in their language and stuff, they're very, very good at bringing you, putting their arm around you and going, yeah, let's see what we can do. What can we, here's what we're up against. Here's what's going on, that kind of thing. Bring people into the brand conversation with you. That can be extremely, extremely powerful stuff. Again, we wear company logos. We wear brand logos on our shirts, our hats. We put them. We proudly display them on our cars. We do those kind of things. Those are our reasons for doing that. As a brand, you have to understand that that's a responsibility, right? To try to bring the community along with you. So those are my tips for maintaining a strong brand reputation. And again, I think it may get harder in the future years here with especially with all these deep fake technologies that are coming at us. We're going to have to get a lot sharper. As Seth Godin said, kind of assume that you're being conned, going in, kind of thing. Buyer beware. So what have we learned today? We know it's a fake world, and we know that an even more fake one might be coming. We know that marketing can play a role in shaping this new reality for the better, for our clients and our customers and our companies. What's real and what is fake is really only a perception. And don't forget, there is no one better in the world at influencing perception than marketing. That is our core skill set. And that's all from me for this week, folks. We'll see you next week with a fresh show. Have a good one. Stay cool out there. Bye-bye. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?